This meeting is being recorded. So welcome everybody to this Ghost Army lobbying meeting. And the first thing I just want to say is 290, right? Which is awesome. You should all applaud, silently applaud yourselves. It's just really, or loudly applaud yourselves. It's really amazing that we got to this point. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to spend a little time sort of celebrating that milestone and talking about what it means. Then we're going to try to look ahead to our future work, lobbying the Senate, and where we also need 67 co-sponsors to move forward. And there'll be plenty of time for you guys to ask questions, and there's some people for you to meet along the way, and we will get to all that. And I do just want to say that if we welcome your questions here, and at the same time, if you have questions when you're done with this, if you're confused about how to move forward and do stuff, you can always email me, rick@ghostarmy.org. I am happy to go over stuff with people and help people take part in this because it's so important what we're doing. I want to begin, and we're going to be testing my Zoom capabilities here. I want to begin by playing for you a conversation that I had yesterday with Representative Annie Kuster. And we spent about 10 minutes talking about just kind of how it feels for her and what she thinks about us getting to this point, as well as kind of what it means, what it actually means to get to 290. So I am going to now go to share my screen and go to the video. And if you'll all mute yourselves, I will see if I can. Hey, Annie, how you doing?
Hey, Rick, I'm doing great.
Good to see you.
It's time to celebrate.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that we've reached this great milestone of 290 co-sponsors in the House. Can you believe that it's been 6 years since you first introduced this legislation?
That's incredible. Thank you for your persistence and to your whole team for your incredible advocacy. I knew it was a heavy lift, but this has been great.
I'm really excited we've reached this point, and I imagine you are too. I mean, that's a long time to be involved in something.
Well, it's a huge relief just to know that finally these folks will be recognized and finally this bill will move forward and we'll bring it to the floor of the House and then pass it in the Senate. And it'll be an exciting day.
Yeah. And so relief is a good word because it took so much of a lift to get there that it's like, we can breathe for a moment. You've been a huge supporter of this. And why is this bill important to you?
Well, my father, Malcolm McLean, was a World War II fighter pilot and was shot down in the Battle of the Bulge. And last year, during the 75th anniversary of the first, I went in June to Normandy,
right, to the cemetery there.
Yes, for the ceremony marking the D-Day invasion.
I was there, right.
He had been involved in that as well, flying overhead. And then 6 months later in December, we went to the Ardennes forest, and we were there for the 75th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
And so I was very moved by the Ghost Army story when you first introduced it to me, and just the extraordinary courage. One of my favorite genre of writing is to read about World War II and the individual stories of, not just heroism, but the courage and the decisions that they had to make to stay alive, to keep other people alive. Right. To defend democracy, I find to be really incredible. And so add to that the creativity and ingenuity of the Ghost Army. And then the last part is just that it hadn't been a story that was told. Right. So many stories had been told, and this one had been secret and kept secret for such a long time. And I feel like not just the veterans themselves that participated in the Ghost Army, but their families deserve that level of recognition.
And sure, and one of those veterans was from your district in New Hampshire, Mickey McCain, and we've met his family, and so it's exciting. I mean, I've met many family members. It's really exciting to do this for them.
Well, I remember we held an event over, I think we were in the Keene area way back at the very beginning of this. And to sort of launch, you came up and told the story. And I remember one of his relatives was there. And,
His
they
son,
were
I
just
think. Yeah.
very touched and honored. And I think that is really important. Your persistence and your perseverance should be recognized, Rick, in all of this.
Okay, well, fair. We'll move right past that and can keep going on. And I will also say, just parenthetically, before my next question, that the Ghost Army exhibit is coming to Keene in, I think it opens in May at that same place at the Historical Society. So
Oh, that's terrific. And you should give us all the details. We'll help get the word out so that
I
people get to see it.
absolutely will. I
That
absolutely
would be
will.
neat. We could go back there with you and revisit.
I'm ready anytime. Two groups of people who really deserve our thanks, I think, today. And first is your incredible staff, Will Pisano, who's really been spearheading this, and everybody in your office who's just done such an amazing job working with us on this. And you, right? They're fantastic. Don't you agree?
I'm super proud of my team, but the story of Will Pisano is really a great one. He's worked in every role. He started out in my campaign, and then he's worked in our DC office. Now he's a legislative assistant, and he's going to law school at the same time. So he goes to law school at night and works hard for us every day. And I'm very, very proud of his persistence and his perseverance working with you and with your lobbying team has been amazing.
Well, and that's the second group of people. It's all, and they're watching us now. All the people who have volunteered to email, to call, to go to meetings. I think it's been a huge civics lesson for them all, and for me as well. And they have done such a great job.
Well, that's where your energy and enthusiasm for the process. I remember when we first spoke and I was trying to explain to you what this would entail. It's not a simple process and it involves, the House of Representatives, 435 members from every corner of the country. And next, going on to the Senate with 100 senators, two from every state. And that's a lot of conversations with staff members, with elected officials, making the case for recognition for the Ghost Army. And in most cases, we had to describe it from scratch. And
Right.
so your writings, the pictures were really important, the video, all of that to tell the story. They weren't familiar with the story. And as soon as they became familiar, they were happy to get on board and to help with the recognition. But it's a lot of spade work, if you will, a slow slog getting
Yeah.
to that many people. And I know the members that I've spoken to on the floor over the years to get them on board. I started out on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and so I had a lot of contact with veterans and not only outside, but also in the Congress, and to know which of the people in Congress had family members in World War II or had served themselves in more recent decades. So I think all told, your team did a really amazing job. And I'm very proud of the folks that made this happen. It wouldn't have happened without your efforts.
No, I'm proud of them too, and they've done an amazing job. And I think they would all agree with you that it was much more of a slog than any of them thought it would be at the start of that. And so we've been telling people for years, oh, we need to get to 290 in the House. We need to get to 290 in the House. We're at 290 in the House, and everybody wants to know what happens now.
Great. So this week I'm flying back to DC and I will go to meet up with the clerk of the House and request that our bill, recognition of the Ghost Army, will be placed on the consensus calendar. You have to get to 290 co-sponsors to even be considered for the consensus calendar, but that will give the House 25 legislative days to either schedule a committee hearing or a vote on the floor of the House on the bill. And in practice, that means that this bill will be coming to the floor, and we hope that that will happen within the next 25 days. So we'll move it along. I anticipate passage on the floor. I don't anticipate a problem there. We've got a lot of great support, a lot of people recognizing why this is important now. And then after the House passes the bill, it will go on to the Senate. And we need to secure 67 co-sponsors for a vote on the Senate floor.
And I would just stress to people, so 25 legislative days probably is not the same thing as 25 days. Right? Is that days that the House is in session?
Correct.
So in practice, that could be a couple of months.
That would be anywhere from 3 to 5 per week, weekdays, business days. Sometimes there's a pro forma session even when we're not all in Washington, D.C. So I would say within the next month, hopefully by the end of May in any event.
We really hope so. And then, of course, we're going to go on to the Senate. Senator Markey's going to introduce this bill in a couple of weeks. We've already got, I think, 11 Senate co-sponsors lined up working on more. We've got about 18 months to get this through the Senate. And I wonder if you have any advice or encouragement for the lobbying team as they set out to do this.
Right. Just exactly the way you've been approaching it. The one thing in the Senate, the staffs are much bigger, but what that typically means is that they will have someone devoted strictly to veterans affairs. So in some ways that might be easier for you to call a Senate office to ask to speak to the staff member devoted to veterans affairs and then to tell your story to that person. If you have the fortunate situation where someone on your team knows a U.S. senator or can get directly to them, we're happy to help in our office with, certainly Senator Shaheen, Senator Hassan from New Hampshire. But I know many of the other senators. If you get stuck, I'm happy to help there. And so it can come from the bottom up or the top down, either way. But your letters and phone calls will be important as well, just to introduce them to the concept of this bill and how important it's been and how hard we've worked. And then we'll get to 67 and get it to the floor of the Senate.
That is certainly what we're aiming for. Annie Kuster, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you.
Great to be with you, Rick. Thank you again for all your effort, for your persistence, for your perseverance. And thanks to your whole team. Amazing advocates. And you should be proud of your good work.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, that's Annie Kuster. Can you guys hear me? That's Representative Annie Kuster. She's been working on this for 6 years. But I also want to play, we have a video message from somebody else. We would not have made the progress that we did in the last 2 months if it weren't for Representative Chris Stewart, Republican from Utah, and the GOP co-lead on this bill in the 117th session of the House. And he was going to join us, but scheduling difficulties manifested themselves. So he recorded this afternoon a little video so he could share in the celebration as well.
Hey everybody, Congressman Chris Stewart from Utah here. Rick, thank you for organizing it. It's a great time to celebrate 40 volunteers who have helped push us. It took 6 years. Sometimes things happen kind of slowly in Congress. Thank Kevin that you all and that we were able to keep pushing along, celebrating 290 co-sponsors, huge milestone. We're going to get this across the finish line. It's important to me for a couple of reasons. Number one is just to recognize the Ghost Army and what they did for 50 years. Everything that they did was classified. We didn't get to hear their stories. We didn't get to tell their stories. The second reason is many of them are no longer with us, but their families are. And we can recognize those families, show respect to those families, and to those few who are among us, like some of my friends out in Utah, to show respect to those members of the Ghost Army who are still with us. And lastly, as a member of the military myself, as a veteran, I understand the sacrifice, the courage, the bravery, how they impacted the war, the thousands of American lives that they saved. We want to thank them, and this is a good way for us to do that. So thank you for all those of you who have volunteered and spent your time and your efforts. Grateful for you doing that. Thank you all, and we'll keep pushing this. We'll get it done.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, that was Representative Chris Stewart, and we're glad that he was able to join us. Could you guys see that? Did I succeed in that? I'm now nervous that I've got this all wrong. I want to introduce two people here right now and put them on the spot because they have played a big role in this as well. And that would be Will Pisano, who's on Representative Custer's staff. And there's Will, and TJ Gunnell, who is on Representative Stewart's staff. And I'm going to make you guys, I'm going to out you here if I can do it here. There's TJ, and I'm trying to find you, Will, on my list here. And more, if you see Will Pisano, I'm just trying to get him spotlighted as well with with TJ there. There's Will Pisano and TJ Gunnell. And unmute yourself, TJ. We can hear you. And I just, Will has worked on this since he was about 7 years old. Okay. and he's 11 or 12 now. So no, that's not true. But Will's worked on this a long time. TJ has just come to this year. And TJ's Will, you heard, was in law school. TJ is an active duty Air Force officer working as a defense fellow. I got that right, TJ? Did I screw it up?
I'm actually not an officer. I'm an enlisted.
Well, I've just promoted you. It's good news.
Thanks. Yeah,
it's just come down here from Ghost Army High Command. You have been promoted.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and these guys you do not know how hard these two guys have worked on this, emailing other reps, talking to people, buttonholing people. We've been in constant communication every day. So you guys must be excited. We're so appreciative of what you've done.
Will, go first.
I am so fired up about this. I mean, it's such an important story to share with people. And I would really, all of y'all should give yourselves a pat on the back, because, one of the most rewarding things for me would be when I was emailing staffers about the Ghost Army, and finally, it would start to click for people. They'd be like, oh yeah, I got 7 emails from someone about that. We should probably get my boss to co-sponsor the bill. So really, it's really exciting to be here on Zoom with all of you and, see your faces, put some names to faces, and really just thank you for your advocacy, because it really wouldn't be possible without all of your hard work. And, we've got another, we got to push another rock up the hill over there in the Senate, but I know this team can get it done. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Will. TJ?
Thank you.
So I'll just tell a quick story. I've only been in Congressman Stewart's office for 4 months now. I came in January at the beginning of this Congress. I'll only stay for the 12 months of this Congress. I think it was day 2 or day 3. I got forwarded an email that was from Will that had come into our office, and a couple of the other reps in there and the staffers, and said, hey, this is probably more in your alley. You should probably reach out to these guys and see if we can get involved with this. And it was Will looking to get Congressman Stewart and his staff involved in the process. And I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was getting into on day 2 of being in that office.
That was lucky for us, right?
Yeah. And then I had a meeting with Will and Rick, and they kind of tied me in and clued me into it. And I'll be honest with you, I really just took Will's lead, and he kind of helped me out and steered me in the right direction and kind of took the leash off and let me go to town on it. And for me, this is kind of like an operation. That's kind of the way I attacked it. So it was really just trying to be relentless on some of these offices and staffs. And to be honest, this thing, 6 years in the making, was already on the goal line. I'm just happy to be a part of it and help it get over that goal line and get into the end zone. So I thank you all for doing really the heavy lifting over the 6 years and letting me be a part of it at the end. And hopefully I can continue to help get it through the Senate. And appreciate everyone else's sacrifices, the family members that aren't here, and all the families that are tied into this. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you all.
Well, thank you both, you guys. Thank you so much. And I know everybody really appreciates your work. And I know I've talked to both of you. I know you're both going to be instrumental as well as we move on to the Senate in helping us there. So we know we haven't, our communications are not yet over. And your involvement is not yet over, but we really appreciate it. And let's have a big round of applause for Will and TJ. Right? Thank you. And now, Maura, we have to get rid of Will and TJ. So that was great. That was their moment, but they must go. So now we move on to the United States Senate, where, as you heard, we need 67 co-sponsors. And we have somebody here to talk with us about that. So Sabrina, now it's your turn to be on the hot seat. I want to find and bring on Sabrina Khan, who is a staff member for Senator Edward Markey, who is, of course, the sponsor of the Senate bill. And Sabrina, welcome to our pirate crew tonight. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and it's good to see you in person, right?
We have talked and we have emailed and I've seen some of your videos, but I haven't gotten a chance to see you in what passes for in person in 2021. So Sabrina, give us a sense of what's going on with the introduction of the Senate bill, if you would.
Of course, yeah. No, I think, sorry, excuse me for the background noise. Just give me 1 second.
Dishes have to be done.
Sorry, yeah, you guys caught me right at dinner time, so I just left.
No, we appreciate your coming. I think everybody understands.
Thank you. But no, it's so this bill I took over when I came into the office about, I want to say, March of last year. So I cover the veterans portfolio now as a legislative correspondent on Senator Markey's foreign policy team. A huge honor to be doing this. This bill is super important, very important to Senator Markey. And I thank Rick for his efforts and all of your guys' efforts, because, echoing what I've been hearing on the call earlier, it's all about outreach, right? And it's all about, making sure that you guys are pushing the agenda that you want. And that's what it is with you in this bill. And it's been really, really great to, every time I get an email saying we have another senator on, it's very good and it feels good. And, I'm glad that we're moving in the right direction. As of now, we have 13 co-sponsors, which is it's good shape to have before reintroduction. And we plan to produce on the week of April 20th. So that's coming up soon. And hopefully once we reintroduce, you guys will have a solid bill number to work off of to email more senators to get people on.
And that's the week of April 26th, right? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, week of April 26th.
Right. So we're going to try to email it, get it out that week. And Sabrina, I was wondering, just to put you a little on the spot, not too much, what advice you would give to people when they start to reach out to Senate offices, as someone who is undoubtedly frequently on the other end of that lobbying. Maybe you can tell people what are good things to do and what are good things not to do.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's not the first time I've gotten this question, that's for sure. But I would say that, I'm sure that there are many people that you guys work with that are not in the state of Massachusetts. So I would say that, anyone that you have in your group that is outside of Massachusetts, to have them reach out to their senators, do the outreach on their end. It's one thing I will say, that Senate constituencies are very, very important. Like, senators take their constituents very, very seriously. Any requests that come from them are usually at the top of their list. So, and I know that because, when we get a request from Massachusetts constituents, we really consider those highly. So I suggest doing that, reaching out to your friends and family members that live in other states to have them reach out to their senators. I've been doing outreach on my end as well, of course, reaching out to the offices that we had on last Congress and making sure that we can get them on again this Congress. But a little push from your guys' end is always helpful.
Okay, great. And I have one question for you that comes up sometimes. There are, we have a list of defense veterans aides for different senators. And we have found, usually emailing, in the House lobbying, emailing those folks has been our best bet. If there's 2 or 3, sometimes I think one senator has 4 different people listed. What would be the best strategy? Mail it to all of them, email to all of them, pick one, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I think picking one would be beneficial, just because what typically happens is, like, say I got an email for a topic that I don't cover in the office, I would then forward that email to the right staffer in our office. And that's usually the case for all offices. So if there is one contact that you have, just let them know, sorry if you're not the point person, but it would be great if you could forward this email to the point person. And more often than not, that will be done.
Okay. And Sabrina, would you mind if I see if anybody else has a question for you?
Sure.
I'm just going to put it out there. I can't see everybody, so I think you'll just have to say your question if you have one for Sabrina. Let's see if I can see people here now. Does anybody have a question for Sabrina? I see
I
Bert.
have one if you can hear me.
Rob, I see you, and I see Bert Edelstein. So Rob, I'm gonna go with Bert first, since Bert's one of the people I didn't let on the call last time, and I'm gonna let him on this time to ask a question, and then I'll bring you on after that. Go ahead, Bert.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Is one strategy to reach out to my congressman and ask him to talk to, or someone from his office to talk to our state senators?
That's a good question. So I would say it's actually very interesting. Obviously, the House and the Senate do work very closely together, but for a situation like this where we're trying to get more signatures on a bill, I would definitely suggest reaching out directly. Though we do have ties with our House offices for Massachusetts, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be able to pass along that information to the Senate office. So I would definitely suggest reaching out to your senator directly if that's a possibility.
So could we do both? Because I have a pretty close relationship with my congressman, and if I asked him to talk to Feinstein, that he might actually do that. Is there anything to advise against doing that, or?
No, nothing. No. Situation, no, of course not. I was more thinking like if you're going to cold email an office, I would suggest doing a Senate office instead of a House office.
Yes. Okay.
But no, in that situation, of course, there's no harm in doing that.
Okay.
And Rob, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Sabrina. Thanks again, as Rick said. When we were lobbying the Congress, I noticed there were some congressmen that had got a lot of emails and weren't on board. And I called the phone numbers of the offices. But if you were to call a senator, say, I know with the congressman, you basically aren't going to talk to anybody, right? You're just going to leave a voicemail, I think. I don't think they actually answer those phones, but my guess is that they tabulate the subject of the call or something like that. But I don't feel like you ever are going to speak to anybody. Is that true?
Also a good
so
question.
When you call a senator, you're just planning on leaving a voicemail.
Right. So the thing is, every single office operates differently when it comes to phone calls. Our office personally, the way it works for us is that people when they call into our office, they do leave a voicemail. But what typically happens is if that person requests a call back, then one of our staff assistants will give them a call back. So that is something that does happen in our office. I'm not sure how other offices operate, but I do think it's worth leaving a voicemail. Even if you don't get a response, it doesn't mean that voicemail wasn't received, right? So if you do leave a voicemail, more often than not, they will forward that voicemail to the correct staffer. And then that staffer will know, like, okay, this person wants us to co-sponsor this bill.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sabrina.
Sure.
Okay, well, I don't want to keep Sabrina too long, but Sabrina Khan is in Senator Markey's office, and she has already been super helpful in working us forward on this here. And so we hope that we'll be continuing to have good news. We, in fact, got good news today. Senator Lee from Utah just signed on just today. So, I think the other thing that's really important to remember is that out of the, I think, 13 that Sabrina said that we have, I think right now we have 6 Republicans and 7 Democrats. Is that right, Sabrina?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we're about as bipartisan as you can be for 13, unless we had Angus King there to be the independent. But we do actually have Angus King, but we're counting him as a Democrat. So really, actually, we have 6 Democrats, 6 Republicans, and an independent. We are the picture of bipartisanship.
You guys have been doing a great job, and this is a wonderful effort. And I'm happy to lead it for Senator Markey. And of course, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. Rick has been amazing. I mean, he's really good at this. He's good at reaching out to offices. He's good at pushing this, and he's a wonderful asset for your guys' team. So we look forward to working with you.
When these guys are all good at this by now, and that's one of the great advantages we have. And we know we have only 18 months to do it, but we are gonna to get the Senate on in this session. We're going to make it happen. Sabrina, I'm going to say thank you very much and take you off the spotlight here. And Maura, you can remove her from the spotlight, and I'll continue on here. Thank you very much, Sabrina. We'll give a little applause there. I want to. I have a couple more things to say, and then we can open this up to questions. And I realized just now that when I showed Representative Stewart's video, I did not highlight just his video. I highlighted the whole screen. And so, TJ, if you're still there, sorry about that. And I'll edit that and fix that before I put this up on YouTube. Okay, so I want to just talk about our strategy in lobbying the Senate, which is very similar to what we're doing in the House. But before I do that, I probably should do one more introduction, because I'm seeing down there when I look at Madeline Christensen that she's with someone that you probably all recognize in the background there. And if we can spotlight Michelle Christensen, you'll see that behind Madeline and Michelle is Stanley Nance, Ghost Army veteran Stanley Nance joining us. He is, Stanley, this is for you. We are all going to give you a cheer here for Stanley Nance. And he's 103 years old, but he wanted to join us here on this call. Do you guys, you can hear us? Madeline, I'll give you the floor for a moment. You're muted, Madeline.
There we go. Yeah. I don't know. I'm really glad to just be here with my great grandfather. He was just so grateful to hear that we reached 290. Sorry, there's an echo. He just was so happy, and I was so happy to tell him I've been working on this since, what was I, 14, 13, somewhere like that. And it's been about a 3-year journey for me. And Grandpa's been there right along the way, and he's been a trooper. I've sent videos of Grandpa to all the congressmen I've contacted. So Grandpa's just right with us on the front lines, Sergeant Stanley Nance, right?
Boy, this is something. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's Michelle and Madeline and Stanley Nance. Thank you so much for your involvement in this. And Stanley, it was great to see you a year ago in New Orleans, and you're helping us lead the charge, and we're doing this for you and for your colleagues, and we really appreciate what you did. Thank you. So it's hard to move on from that, but I'm going to try to move on from that. Talking briefly about lobbying the Senate, and then I'll try to get to your to questions. Our strategy is pretty much the same as it was in the House. I call this sort of open source lobbying, in that we put the materials that you need. They're all in a resource folder online. And I think that I can share with you the window, and I think we can put the link. I think Maura's just put the link up in the chat area. And if you see this window, this is a Google Drive. We have basically all the information that you would need here to lobby in the Senate as well as the House. And we're done in the House. We don't need to do anything more there. So if you look in this, one of the documents in here, you have a Senate co-sponsor list, and it lists the all of the senators and who has already co-sponsored. We've already started filling it in. And then over here, it's listed by state. And over here on the right, and this is just the same as it was when we were lobbying in the House, we have columns here for people to be able to put in their own information about, when they've contacted somebody, putting usually just a date and the initials to say that they've reached out to their office. So that's one key document that we use, and this is a great document for figuring out if you go to your state and you're from Connecticut, you'll see that Blumenthal has sponsored, but Murphy hasn't, so it helps you know who to reach out to there. And then another document that's really, really important in this resource folder is the target email list. And again, you've seen this. Those of you who have lobbied already have seen this. This is where, if you know which senator you want to contact, how do you know who in their office to email? Because we have found that that is the most effective thing. I have found to email the staffers in the Washington office. And then you can search on this, but you see, for example, Senator Cardin, Ted Severe is in Maryland. Senator Cardin's from Maryland. You can see that we have his senior advisor for defense policy here, Steve Ham, and that he could email Steve Ham. And so that information is there. And I'm going to stop the share here for a moment. And so using the information in that drive, and there's other resources like we have the list of the living veterans. We have the one sheet that shows you, has all the information that you, if you want to include that when you send it out to senators' aides. So we have lots of information there. And using that, the basic strategy is to email the aides for senators and start making our case. And I just wanted to say a couple of words about that. This isn't my last share, but it's my last main share. So I'm just bring it up here. Just a couple of thoughts on the Senate lobbying, and then I will open it up for questions. Let's see here. So as you know, we need 67 co-sponsors. We have 13 now. That means we need 54 more. So, and I said 18 months. We want to get this done in the current legislative session, which ends in December of 2022. And to do that, we really need to get this bill up to 67 co-sponsors, really probably by about September, October of next year, if not earlier. So that is our goal that we have to work hard on. Our basic methodology I just discussed is emailing the defense aide or aides of the senator. And you heard Sabrina say that if they have multiple aides, maybe you start by picking one. And then if that doesn't work, maybe you try the next one a week later. We also have a sample email in that resource folder that we posted a link to. I always tell people not to use the sample email, to write their own. I think it's great when stuff is personal and you can tell your own story of why you're interested, or if you're the son or daughter of a veteran, or if you came to the story some other way. But the sample email is there if you need a little something to get you started. As Sabrina said, I think we should all start with our home state senators. And I want to add something to what she said, which is that if your senator has already co-sponsored, you can still reach out and ask them if they can recruit some other co-sponsors. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If Senator Lee in Utah has co-sponsored, maybe his office will help reach out to some other people. In fact, they said that they already have said that they would. But asking your senator, say, hey, if you've already co-sponsored and you believe in this, maybe you can, bring along a couple of friends. I want to suggest as we start that I'm kind of thinking a lot about this, and at least at the beginning, I'm going to suggest that if you're inclined to reach out to other people aside from your home state senators, that you start by picking no more than about 12. And at least for the first few weeks after we start emailing people after the bill is introduced. Because what I'd like to do is make sure that Senate offices are getting emails from a variety of different people, that it doesn't feel like they're all getting, one or two people who are emailing everybody. And I think as we start, that's a good idea. As we move along, as we get a few weeks or a month into it, then I think it's fine for people to branch out and start to email more people. And I want to, I think in terms of targeting senators, when you're targeting senators who are not in your home state, I want to spread the wealth around. We don't want everybody to be emailing the senators from, California or New York or something. We also want to talk to the people who are in Alabama and Idaho and Nebraska. They all count. We need them all. And if you have a connection in another state, if you can recruit somebody, a family member in that other state, great. But if you're reaching out to try to reach out to other senators, check that co-sponsor list, see who doesn't have any names next to them, see who nobody has spoken to yet, or only one or two people, and email them. And communication's super important. This is about the fourth time I've used the word super, so I'm going to try not to use it for the rest of the call. Communication in that we do have that sheet on the drive, and we say, if you talk to somebody, you really need to make a note of it there. And if you're reaching out, you really need to check first and see who else has talked to them, because what we don't want to do is suddenly have a slew of emails come in the same day, or have one senator that has 12 people who've reached out to them and another senator that has nobody who's reached out to them. And I would also say, you don't have to copy me. You don't have to copy me on your emails. You can if you want, but definitely send a note to me or copy me if you get a response, because I'm always interested in, what's happening in terms of response from people. And if somebody responds to you, you want to note that as well on the co-sponsor sheet, so that people are aware that you're in a dialogue there, and we can kind of give you room to do that. I took a slightly different position from Sabrina. Maybe it's not that different. I think on enlisting help from your representative. If you have, like Bert does, a good relationship with your representative, if you've been in touch with somebody in a representative's office, like Doug, you have, with Chrissy Houlihan's office, I think it's fine to email them and say, hey, can you help us with this in the Senate? I agree that we don't want to do that as kind of a cold call. That doesn't make much sense. But I think that it is fine in terms of just, trying to get another ally in what we're doing. And the last thing I would say in this, and probably maybe this is a little different than what we did in the House, maybe it's kind of the same. I think that this is an exercise in relationship building. I don't think we're going to convince a lot of people on the first email. I think that it is important for us to, realize to be to be patient, to be polite, to realize that we are sort of trying to build a relationship with the staff person, with a senator, and win them over to our side. And so that can mean follow up. It can mean, like, if there's a news article about this, sending somebody a news article, sending them something that's new, so that that they're learning more and more about this as we go along. And if we build these relationships and we communicate with people, I'm sure that we can get this happen and make this go. So that's my basic pitch there. And I think that I would like to stop for the moment and see what kind of questions we have. And I'm sure there are some, and what I can cover that I haven't covered. Everyone's so stunned that I stopped talking that they don't. I would especially ask, if you haven't lobbied before with us, if you didn't do much in the House effort and everything I just said seemed like gobbledygook to you, I would especially urge you to put a question out there.
Rick, I have a question back on the House. How many votes does it take to pass a bill?
200 and sorry, I'm doing math really quickly. 217, 218, I guess. Yeah, 50%.
So it should be a slam dunk if 290 already approved.
I think we can assume that it's going to pass the House. There are no guarantees in this world.
Amen. Especially Congress.
I think we can assume that it will pass the House. I think we can just let that go and leave that in the hands of Will and TJ and those guys.
Okay.
Rick, I had a question. I was quite interested in Annie Custer's comment that many people she talked to didn't know anything about the Ghost Army. And so that is a lead in that we all know about it, but how to phrase it to get their attention seems critical.
I think that that's a really good point, and I think that it's a good reminder for us. I know sometimes I feel like I write so many emails about this that my gosh, I must have written one to everybody in the United States already, so they must know about it. But on the other hand, I'm constantly running into people. I'm sure you guys all are too. Who so like, I'm sure Keith, you're talking to people about your dad who was in the unit, Bernie Bluestein, and they're like, "That's unbelievable. I never heard of anything like that." And so it happens. It happens all the time. So I think that's a good point. And I think one of the, I should also say that one of the things that we're doing to try to support you guys in this lobbying effort is we started a PR campaign, and it's already bearing results. I posted on Facebook today. You may have seen that there was an article in the Washington Times this morning in Washington, D.C. In their Capitol Hill it's their Inside the Beltway column. So this is just the thing that all the people who are in Congress, congressional aides, et cetera, might be looking at. There was an item in there. There is a piece going on the Armed Forces Network on what they call Defense, I think it's called Defense Weekly, which is produced for the Armed Forces Network. And that piece, I think, is going to go on Saturday and then be available to have a link next week. I just did an interview yesterday or the day before for it. So, we're trying to do things so that there's a little more top of mind, that there's more of a chance that they'll at least have heard something. And I'm also doing something for C-SPAN in a couple of weeks. So that's probably going to be right. I think it might be the same day, in fact, that they're thinking about introducing the bill. So I agree. You have to assume that people don't know about it. But the other good part of that is something that Will Pisano said to me once, and I don't think Will's still on with us, but he said, when you're reaching out to a staffer, your email may be the best thing in their day because you're not complaining. You're not talking about the tax code and grain provisions or something. You are telling them this amazing piece of World War II history and asking them to support something that anybody in their right mind would want to support. And so, I think that's important to keep in mind too.
Rick, this is Carolyn. Oh, I'm sorry. Rick, this is Carolyn. I put something in the chat that the bill number then should be available around the 26th of April. Is that what I heard?
Yes, thank you so much, Carolyn. That is a great point to make, which is, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to do much before we have a bill number. Right. Because it's hard to, we're reaching out right now to offices that already know about this, that have already gone through a vetting process. Without a bill number, they can't look at the bill. You can tell them, here's the text of the bill, but it still isn't the bill because you could change the text. Sabrina said the week of the 26th, we are pushing for them to introduce it on the 27th, on the Tuesday, because it's better if it's early in the week from a publicity point of view. And then usually it takes a day or two after that to get a bill number. So sometime around my birthday, April 29th, don't send any presents. And if you do send them, I'll give you my address. Sometime around my birthday, we should have a bill number. And the great birthday present would be that you guys start sending out emails to people about this.
Rick.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Ted.
Just for a bit of history, the very first, or one of the very first pieces that came in print about the Ghost Army was 10 years before it was officially declassified. And that's the article that was in the April 1985 Smithsonian Magazine.
Sure.
If no one has, if some of the people that are on the call have not seen that article, you can contact the Smithsonian Magazine and they will send you a PDF copy.
I think we actually have Ted, we have a link to it on the Ghost Army.
I think I sent it to you.
The Ghost Army Legacy Project page, and the Smithsonian. It was so funny. They said, well, you can link to it, but that'll be, $250. And I said, well, never mind. And they said, oh, well, in that case, never mind. It's free. I am a tough negotiator.
Most of the illustrations were done by Arthur Shillstone.
Yes,
In that
Arthur
article.
Shillstone, who served in the unit. Absolutely. Thank you.
I think there's actually been a couple of books that have come out since yours. There's one was written from the British perspective that I just got recently, and I don't remember the title, but there's
They're not as good, I guarantee.
Oh, it isn't. And there's one that's come out as a graphic novel too.
Excellent. Yes, there's a growing amount of literature. I think imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. I heard a question from Linda, I think.
Well, I just remembered when he talked about the Smithsonian article, my father walked into my house with the magazine rolled up in his hand, went over to the desk and smashed it on the desk and said, "How un-American, how horrible. We are supposed to take this story to our graves." And here all the information we have been told in this top secret thing I couldn't tell anybody is now in print. He was so angry. He thought how unpatriotic of the Smithsonian Magazine, because nobody had ever said to these men, it's unclassified now. So you can let the information out.
Yeah, they were told different soldiers report being told different things. And so some of them really took it incredibly seriously, and some of them took it less seriously. And that's just, and I think some of them interpreted it differently than others. It's a complicated story, I will tell you. And Roy knows a lot of aspects of this story as well. But I will tell you, there's an article about the Ghost Army in the New York Times in November 1945 that has a fair amount of the story in it. And so, but nonetheless, the official history was classified until 1996. So there was efforts to keep this classified all the way through.
Just a response there for Linda. After Shillstone's article was published, there was a lot of scurrying around and a lot of stuff got locked down and put back away. I suspect that somebody let something out, not realizing they shouldn't have, and the Defense Department really jumped on it, including one poor guy in the Defense Department who was writing a study on the Ghost Army, and he was called in, given the bright light, third-degree treatment for having let something out, which he hadn't done. But he was traumatized by it for some years after. So yeah, it was confusing at the least.
Anybody else? Other questions on what we need to do? I don't want to. I know we're approaching the 1 hour time. I also want to just introduce you all while you're still here to Kimberly. Kimberly, wave to everybody. Kimberly has been an intern for us for the last how long, Kimberly? 3 months, 4 months?
4 months, I think.
4 months. And Kimberly lives in California, and she is going to be, she's been lobbying. She's going to continue to lobby. And she's a high school student in California. And she is also, her Ghost Army project, a documentary, has gone on to the state finals in the National History Day competition. And so we all cross our fingers that her project will be one of the ones that goes on from there to the national finals.
Rick, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, it's dark in my car, and I did this meeting in my car.
It's very romantic, Rob.
Thank you. You mentioned that, well, it's only 7 o'clock here, but you mentioned that the Ghost Army show exhibition will be in New Hampshire. If you have a list of when Kimberly's going to be doing her presentation at the state or national level, or where the show is going to be, I'd appreciate somehow getting that information, because I might want to go to the show, or I might want to try to get people to go to the show. I thought it was a great show at the World War II Museum, and I guess it's traveling now for a little while.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
there's actually two different exhibits, but I will get you that information about where the exhibits are going. I'm afraid that the National History Day is all virtual, so there's not much that you can do there with that. And I should say that Madeline, I don't want to leave Madeline out, that she's got a National History Day project as well, but it doesn't have anything to do with the Ghost Army. So I don't know. We're you're going to have to get on some other Zoom to talk about that, Madeline.
Been there, done that.
Anything else? Anybody? Oh, here.
Hey, Rick, it's Ted again.
Pardon?
It's Ted Severe again.
Okay, Ted.
In sort of to talk about the other ladies, her dad's reaction when the magazine, he was very angry that when the Smithsonian article came out, when my dad read the article, tears came out.
Cash back on Disney.
I don't think I can do that.
Karen, I think you're going to need to mute yourself if you have got the TV on there. There you go. I'm sorry, Ted.
Yeah. When my dad read the article, he didn't get angry. He started to cry.
Oh.
Because it just reinforced to him that the few things that he did tell us, he remembered those incidents that were in that article because he was there. And I think I hope for some of the Ghost Army members who were living at that time, this was 85, that they had the opportunity to see the article and realize that somebody finally had let the cat out of the bag.
Well, I appreciate those comments, and I'm just going to move on from that because I want to make sure that that we get any other questions involving lobbying. Karen Skibba, welcome. We are actually almost about to wrap up, but we are glad that you're here anyway. And as I said to everybody, we are recording, so all of this will be available. The full thing will be available on YouTube. And I want to share with you guys, if I can, one last picture. I actually put it up on Facebook relatively recently, but you might all get a kick out of seeing it if you haven't seen it already. Let's see, hang on a second, and I'll put it right here. All right, let me get it up on the screen. I hope you can see this. This is a soldier in the 8th PSYOP Group Airborne who's in a helicopter, and you might notice his shoulder patch there. It is not their official shoulder patch. It's what's called a morale shoulder patch. And this is, I am told that a lot of the PSYOPs guys, I mean, we already know, Roy and I already know that they've used these, they've put this logo on coins, they've put it on poker chips, stuff that's handed out, and now we're seeing a couple of different versions of this PSYOP Ghost Army shoulder patch, and I just think it's really amazing to see how the current PSYOPs warriors are embracing the World War II unit. So if you wonder, as you're arguing about this or discussing this with congressional offices and Senate offices, if this is something that's important to the Army now, or if this is something that people in the Army think is important, well, you can see how these guys are taking inspiration from this. And I want to just add to that, if I can, a very unusual variation on that, because apparently, I just got this today, so I don't know the whole story, but apparently the chaplain, looking at the Ghost Army patch that other people had, the chaplain wanted to have his own. And so this is the chaplain's Ghost Army patch, which is a little bit different than the Ghost Army patch that the other soldiers have. But I mean, this is just the kind of stuff, the kind of feedback we're getting from guys who are in the PSYOPs unit now, in the U.S. Army now, about their appreciation for what the Ghost Army did, and constantly hearing about their appreciation for what we're trying to do. So those are my final words. Although I am, if I can, I'm happy to hang on here. I'm gonna stop recording and say that we're done, but I'm gonna hang on here. I'm happy to chat with people until the sun goes out here, as it has for Rob Mayer. So
Rick, can I say thank you for doing what you continue to do for our fathers, grandfathers, uncles, friends, and that when these men finally do get the credit they deserve, much of that goes to you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. But I think it goes to all of us. And I appreciate what everybody is trying to do to make this happen. It's such a team effort. And I always say that, that there's an army of people marching along with me and what I'm trying to do. There has been since I started working on the documentary 15 years ago. Oh my God, 15 years ago, 16 actually. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So let's see, I am stopping recording.